What's up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of That Great Podcast. Today we have Jeff. He's an entrepreneur, one of my mentors, good friends. He has a couple different businesses. We're going to talk about those today, talk about a couple of other things, and it's great to have him. So, Jeff, welcome. How are you doing, man?
Thank you, Chris. Thank you for having me. We're finally sitting together
Yes, man.
and
It's been
having
a long
this
time coming.
podcast.
Long time coming.
Thank you for having me,
Of
and
course.
I'm excited.
Of course. Yeah. So let's jump into it. Tell me a little bit about how you kind of fell, or not fell into, but what kind of led you into starting on the entrepreneurship journey. And tell me a little bit just about your background and what led you there.
You know, in most conversations, I've always started in 2014, which is when I started my digital marketing agency. But come to think of it, I actually started way back before that. I was probably 14, 15 when I was in music back then, and I wanted to start a band, and not really understanding what it took, to really start a band. I was in multiple bands prior to that, just for fun, and then all of a sudden it became a little bit more serious. And my brother and I got together. We founded this band. I think I was maybe 15 or 16 by then, and we released our first album in 1998, which would put me at about, wait a minute, around 18 years old. And actually, exactly on my 19th birthday. That's when it was. 19th birthday, that's when the album came out. So those years actually were the beginning of my entrepreneurial adventure, if you will. I just didn't know it back then, because at first I just thought we just go play music. People will come and pay to see us. People will pay for our music, buy our albums and stuff like that. But obviously it wasn't that simple. So after that first album, I actually left Haiti, where I'm from, went to the States to attend college, and then put music on the back burner right off the bat. So we had just started picking up momentum. We did our first tour of the summer of '99
in Haiti.
The tour, actually, no, we had played in Haiti from '98 to that summer, but that summer we did our first U.S. tour. So we went to Miami, Boston, New York, Canada. And right after that, I went straight to college in September, know, and then it completely shifted from there. Yeah. So I would say that's when it started. And after I graduated college, I started another band when I went back to Miami. I went to Miami after I graduated and started another band, more serious this time. I was a lot more experienced. I was a lot more mature in so many ways. I also had just come off, a degree in business and marketing and all that. So I applied some of that stuff also into the band and into the music, and my approach was different. So this time I'm like, you know what? The business side of it, the first time around, was not a thing for me, as I had no idea what I was doing. And the second time around, I had a lot more experience and understood exactly what it meant to start your business, because that's what it was. Yeah. It was your own business. You had to set up your rehearsals. You had to do promotion for the band. You had to do marketing and all that. And also you had to also create the product, which is the music. And you had to do it in a way where people would actually be interested and pay to hear it.
Yeah.
So all of that were experiences. And after that, we also started a music studio, and that was around 2006, 2006 or 2007, around there. And we built our own studio. It's a multi-purpose type studio. We had a recording studio, we had rehearsal rooms, we had dance rooms, we had production rooms. And it was a family affair where myself, my brother, my mom, and my dad all got together and created that. So the music thing is basically my brother and I following my dad's footsteps. So it was a natural kind of like thing for us getting into music. So, and during that time we said, wait, we can do something together. We can build, a studio and kind of like take the next step. It would be great for our own band to have its own home base.
Yeah, sure.
And then also invite other bands and other clients and stuff like that. My dad would also have a spot for him. Anyway, long story short, we invested in all that. We had the market crash in 2008. We were barely surviving because the rent was extremely high. It was a huge place.
I imagine the facility was
It was like a 5,000 square foot
Yeah.
facility.
Yeah.
So it was very tough to maintain. And
Right.
also people wanted to pay $20 an hour
Right. Because you're
to
dealing with
rehearse, $25 an
smaller
hour to
time
record.
musicians and-
Exactly. So we closed that in 2011. And at that time, it was a very dark place for me. I had no idea what I was going to do. It was actually the year that I decided that I would quit music. I also quit my band. Everything music, I put it in the past. I was like, you know what? Now it's time to take life, I guess, more seriously. 2014, 3 years later, I actually started Cool Ideas Marketing, which you know. And also, I started the process of creating Life of Joy, which you also know about, but that hasn't really come out yet. And I would say that that year, 2014, was, a very important year in my entrepreneurial journey. All through those years before that, I was just doing different things. I was never really in the corporate world. I never really had a quote unquote real job. So I guess that's why I wanted to go all the way back in I guess 96, 97 when it all started, with that mindset, of like, okay, I'm gonna do my own thing.
Right.
And back then I just didn't know that was it.
Yeah.
So basically that's where we at.
And so let's unpack a little bit Cool Ideas and Life of Joy as well. So when along the path of Cool Ideas, when did Life of Joy kind of spin out? And Cool Ideas is of course self-explanatory. We can talk about the services you offer, but when did you kind of stumble on Life of Joy, and what made you want to start that business?
So coincidentally, both of them kind of started together.
Okay.
So in 2014, I proposed to my wife. We got pregnant a month after the proposal. That was in March. In April, I thought for sure I would have a girl. I don't know why. I just felt I would have a girl. We would have a girl. And her name would be Joy. And I'm like, okay, this is serious. This is serious right now. Like, we have to build something. I felt like right then and there that I had to build something like a legacy for the family. I love business. I love marketing. And the idea of Cool Ideas Marketing was just side by side, because April also, that's really when I got the idea. And then at first it was called Baby Joy, and then it was something on the back burner, really. I didn't know what it would be, but I knew it would be a brand for families, lifestyle, apparel with other products, obviously for babies and, family members around the baby, but it took 10 years, actually more, 11 years, where this year it's coming out, but it took 11 years to get to this point.
Yeah.
So Cool Ideas was really what I focused on. I started Cool Ideas officially in July, started the corporation in July of 2014. And in terms of services, like you mentioned a little earlier, it's just a full-blown marketing agency, 360, focused on digital for the most part. But nowadays, there's so many other areas in marketing that are important. And, also what I do, I put logos on stuff when people ask me what I do. So that also expanded into a partnership, and also working with another company that had already been established. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But yeah, so about 11 years ago, both were born, I guess, simultaneously. And then hopefully at the end of 2025, this year, Life of Joy will officially launch.
Nice. Okay, so we definitely have to include any pre-registration links or anything like that. So I'll take note of that.
I know you're coming, so you
got
your bundle.
I got you. So let's talk about the marketing. You mentioned that, and especially when you started it, digital marketing was, I guess, starting to, it probably was a couple of years in already, where you had the internet marketing and all of that. But from when we started working together, just a little background for the audience. So we came to be working together 2019-ish. And
exactly 2019.
Off a cold call.
Yep.
I just was cold calling.
February 16, 2019.
Damn, look at you.
I remember that.
Wow. Nice. Yeah. So I was cold calling agencies. You were one of the ones that answered, and we met, and it was a great fit. And we do still some work together. But from your perspective, having been doing it a while longer than I had been, how have things changed from, let's say, when you first started marketing in general, because you always had some marketing involved with your bands and music side. How does that change from then to today, and the in between, as well as when you started the digital side?
Yeah, when I first started, the idea, cool ideas, actually stemmed from a very close friend of mine. He had his own agency, so he was an inspiration to me. And he overused the word cool. He would say cool at least 5 times per sentence.
Pretty
So
cool.
yeah, pretty cool, right? And then he had this painting, or no, it wasn't a painting. It was like a photograph that he had framed in his office that also said cool, with a green lollipop, not lollipop. What do you call those again? The frozen ones, popsicle.
Popsicle.
And then I couldn't find a name. At first, it was the marketing group, because I wasn't really sure what kind of services I was going to offer. I'm very creative, so I know it would be creative based.
Yeah.
But anyway, long story short, the marketinggroup.com was available, but it was 10 grand. I mean, I didn't have 10 grand to buy
URL.
a URL.
Yeah.
So I'm like, damn, I can't find it. And I wanted my name to match exactly. Until today,
Yeah,
anything
you're a
that I
big
start,
proponent of that,
I'm
yeah.
big. I'm big.
Yeah.
I want the name to match the URL.
Yeah.
So I'm like, man, I can't find something that's cool enough. And I'm like, what? And I put cool ideas, because actually that popsicle image was, I think it said cool ideas actually, and he would say cool ideas also. He said cool randomly, but he would say, oh, that's a cool idea. Or those
Yeah.
are cool ideas, whatever. I'm like, cool ideas marketing. Psh, that is not available. I put it in, it's available. I'm like, what? I buy it. And then I call him right away, say, hey, Ivan. And I'm like, listen, man, like, I know your agency name is not Cool Ideas Marketing, but you use Cool Ideas so many times, when you speak to clients and all that kind of stuff. Is it okay for me to use Cool Ideas Marketing, as the name of my agency? It's like, it's all yours. If I would want anybody to use it, it would be you. I'm like, okay, let's do it. And that's how it started, with the name Cool Ideas. And then my slogan was, we bring the cool. So my first logo had a little, what do you call that again? Like a briefcase. Basically, my vision was I go into an idea with a briefcase of ideas. Of cool ideas. Yeah. So we bring the cool was the initial slogan. And the idea in terms of services was on the creative side. So we go into a situation where a company needing some marketing services, whether it's digital, experiential, or whatever, we would go in, evaluate what the needs are, and create a creative campaign using the tools that at that time were known to be popular or successful, or I guess the norm, which digital played a big role already at that time. So the services were never really aligned specifically, to anything, I would say specific, but also being from Haiti and working with Haitian American companies over the years prior to that as a consultant, basically helping companies speak to the Haitian audience in the United States. And that could be Haitian companies and also American companies, because it's a big demographic anyway.
Yeah.
So I used to do a lot of that. I'm like, you know what? Let me start, calling some of the people that I have already worked with, and helping them reach the Haitian community. And that's really how I started. And some clients, stayed with me for years, and helping them. And then after that, did a lot of cold calling and stuff like that, knocking on doors, offering random services, social media services, SEO services, website development and building services, branding services, and then promotional items, which is what I focus on the most now. And yeah, it was a little bit of everything.
And so with the recent developments with AI, it's a huge topic now. But, in my own business, I'm using AI in the operations side and the creative side for marketing and all of that. So just as a business owner, I've seen huge impacts on how AI runs businesses. So on the marketing side, for a company that's selling these services that largely AI, not perfectly, but AI is making its way into just delivering these things at some level. How do you see the marketing companies, marketing agencies adapting and still being able to provide value? You know, what is the, is it going to be maybe like a consulting factor where, you know, the marketer is going to be able to spearhead that AI process, or, you know, how do you see AI impacting your industry?
This question in itself is probably like a whole podcast
Yeah,
topic.
yeah.
I'm not talking about one episode. I'm talking about the whole
Series.
podcast series because there's so many things, man. I don't know I don't know the whole dynamics well enough. And that's what I'm trying actually to change. I went to a master class about 2 weeks ago. It really opened my eyes. I was like, man, I use AI every day.
Yeah.
Like there's
I think
not
everyone does
every single day. Like there's any email that's important to me, I write it, but I write it on it.
Right.
And then I say,
Clean
you
it
know,
up.
whatever, make
Yeah.
it more, I don't know, professional, emotional,
Sure.
funny, whatever.
Yeah.
Fix grammatical errors, whatever it is, you know. So much so that it knows me very, very well now, where I don't even have to say anything. It's pretty scary also.
Yeah.
And I asked it recently, say, hey, you know, how do you know so much about me? I mean, like, because, you know, from all the prompts you've given me over the past year or so, I've built
your avatar,
your a database of information. That's how we work. And that's, I'm like, what the hell? And I'm like, okay, based on what you know, what do you know about me? It sent me a summary of myself that was very, very weird. I saved it. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to put it on the side. I'm going to read it again at some point.
Yeah.
Because it was super accurate.
Kind of cuts deep.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I'm scared to do it. I haven't done that yet.
It's crazy. So I use it every day. And marketing wise, it's changing the game. I'm just lead generation. I know we've done a lot of stuff together, work-wise, cold calling, email lists, and digital ads, funnels, all that stuff, and all those headaches are gone. You know, if you know how to use the AI tools properly, all of it is automated now. Now, you could say, like, you know, businesses are going to also understand some of those things. Their marketing departments, definitely, you know, those companies that understand this whole thing will prioritize educating their employees and their teams with AI and using the tools on a daily basis for sure. But the automation of social posting, for example, is so easy. You could create your whole month or year of social through AI and AI agents, and also creating a whole pattern. You know, basically you could tell the AI to look, let's say I'm posting about, I want to reach doctors, right? Doctors have a specific language that they understand and they speak. They, you know, doctors in Miami, for example, or whatever. And it would go and find information about, you know, all the types of doctors, the tone that they use, what kind of content would generate interest from them, and all of that stuff. The research that used to take us weeks sometimes, actually, you know, we used to charge monthly, obviously, for certain marketing campaigns, and the first month was dedicated to research, strategizing, understanding the client, their needs, their markets, and all that kind of stuff, so that way we don't go into the campaign completely blind. Which I always said, listen, the clients would call me, hey, how come you haven't posted anything? Yeah, it's been already a week. I'm like, are you kidding me? I'm posting next month. You know, we're not going to just go and put stuff out randomly, without understanding what we're doing here. You know, so now that process has completely changed, where you still need that process, but it's so fast now. Now you just, with AI, it automatically creates the whole concept for you. And I guess the second part, you know, the human component of it in the consultancy side, where you would say, well, if our company is going to need marketers and stuff like that, absolutely, maybe even more. Because now you need the understanding of putting it's like basically quarterbacking the whole campaign. You know, because you could be very good and very well versed in using all the AI tools, but if you don't really understand, you know, the full spectrum of what it takes to create a marketing campaign, understanding and creating your avatar, the language, the calls to action, and understanding, interpreting the data, because you're gonna get so much, you're not gonna fully utilize you know, the AI tools.
I've seen it kind of on my side. I've used it and it's been very effective, again, on all all sides of the business. You can, if you're what I've found for now, I do think we're gonna hit like a Terminator point. That's my, I think that's the end point. I don't know when, but I think that's where we're headed. But for now, it still is dependent on like your input, largely. Whether even if you're able to create an agent, an AI agent that is running autonomously, you still need to build it out. So I've used it very effectively. It's been really powerful. But what I've found is like just for the marketing side, because that the marketing for my business really is just to get more business. There's no other function other than that. So using the AI, it has helped brainstorming wise. I don't use it quite for design, but still I run into the issue of like, well, there's still only so much time in the day. And even if you have the AI creating it, and maybe it can get to a point of automatically scheduling and all that, maybe we're there already, but I've still found that, yeah, you're probably going to need someone's mini department or one person multi-department that is running it, because at the end of the day, there's so many other things that as a business owner, the AI might make it shorter, but again, do you want to tie yourself down to becoming a AI prompter for the marketing of your own business? Like, do you really, what business owner is going to want to do that? So I don't think, I think like with anything, it's going to force businesses to adapt, but I think the marketer, maybe just transitions into that role of like, look, we're using it as a tool just like you are, but we're the experts. We're still the experts in prompting it, let's say in this case for marketing purposes, So on that side, how has it affected the experiential marketing and the physical? Have you seen any, we'd love to talk about the new product that you're rolling out. That's pretty cool tech wise, but that side of marketing, I don't see, unless you would see an avenue. How does AI start impacting that?
Well, if you look at experiential marketing also, it's kind of the same principle. You're gonna let's say events, and you're gonna deal with people that are on the field and interacting with your brand, interacting with your message, your product, depending on what that campaign is all about. But the prep, before you actually get into that situation is as important today as it was, years ago, decades ago, because you're not gonna go blind and go, okay, you know what? Yeah, you're gonna put a bus there. We're gonna wrap this bus in this color. We're gonna put, a few steps and repeats. We're gonna do this. We're gonna have an inflatable. We're gonna have that. Blah blah blah. People are gonna have fun, and let's call it a day. You could do that, and maybe you're lucky, and everything works well, and then you get your money back, or not the money back. I guess you get the value and your ROI. But if you really first, again, understand who's going to be there, how many people, analyze the demographics of these people. What kind of colors do they resonate with the most? What kind of colors do you want them to be resonating with to create this chain of events and actions that you want them to do? So
that's where the AI would be coming in.
That's
yelling.
The analysis of all that, the prep of all of that. So that way you prepare that event way ahead, because that's really, really where the magic happens, is the whole harmony of the situation, where if you have multiple products interacting with each other, you have people interacting with the products, you kind of have to, not only the products, but the messaging, the people, the music, the tone, everything. If you're doing a very, very high-end event, let's say a brand of a car that's like $500,000 per car, that's a completely different event than an event for a $25,000 car. Sure. It's different people, and it requires a different type of setup, So all of these things, AI is going to help. Now, when you look also at those types of events, there's a lot of NFC chip. There's like, we'll talk about the caps and all that kind of stuff. There's QR codes all over the place. All these things are also super interactive and need to be planned ahead of time. One thing that really irritates me is just, random landing pages, or not even having a landing page, just QR code and goes straight to your homepage with no tracking, So all of that AI comes into play also, where it helps minimizing the guessing, and really focused on what your goal is.
Right.
So
and I think with the way that they're building out some of these bots, or the agents, and what they're calling them, the analysis that they're able to do, fully autonomous. I don't know how deep you've gone into that, but like, it's crazy, because within the past, from what I've seen, I mean, the open AI came to the public use like a year ago, maybe 2 years ago at most.
Yeah, I would say.
And just the advance that we've seen within those 2 years alone and how much it's escalated, I feel like it's going to really allow, like you're saying, allow businesses, if they are able to use it, it's going to allow businesses to really drill down deeper into their target audience. And in this case, and they're going to be able to identify down to like the what order they put their shoe on. They put their left on or the right on. Like the AI is going to be very powerful. So we're going to keep an eye on that. But tell me a little bit about some challenges that you've run into over the years as an entrepreneur and how you've overcome them and kind of what mindset you've developed as an entrepreneur. You've been doing it over 10 years now. So what are some gold nuggets for up and coming entrepreneurs, anyone thinking of jumping in to a business that they want to start? What are some insights from someone's been doing it now for over a decade?
I was on a podcast earlier this week, and it was more of a parenting type of focus, but kind of balancing parenting, entrepreneurship, fitness, and all that. And they asked me a question about my 18-year-old self, going into entrepreneurship. What would be my message or my advice and stuff like that. So I guess all of this could fit into this question because it's a lot of different challenges depending on the year, depending on the situation. But if you go back even before those 10 years of, I guess, more serious entrepreneurship, my 18-year-old self, because that was the question, what could you tell your 18-year-old self? I was like, man, listen, I don't know, because back then I didn't even know I was actually an entrepreneur. I thought I was just going to do music for the rest of my life. I thought I was going to be a rock star. I didn't think I was going to have a family. I didn't think I was going to be in this situation. I just thought I was going to play music the rest of my life. That's what I kind of wanted. Yeah. I wanted to actually go to music school, to even further, my journey into music. And it's my dad, actually, the musician that inspired me to become a musician, that stopped me from going to music school, saying like, you know what, I'm paying for this shit, so you're not going to music school. You're going to whatever else you want to do. And I went to business school, and then the rest of the story. But sure. I guess he knew, and that was a very good piece of advice, obviously, going in that route. So I would say, your younger self, to prepare for the challenges, get to know yourself as much as you can. Get to know yourself so much that you could project 10 years down the road who you want to become. When you know that, now you could set, your plan to get there. It's hard because at 18 it's almost impossible to really think that way. But that's one of the best pieces of advice I could give anyone, not really understanding where they're going to go. That's part of the challenges, which is the question you asked, because when you don't know where you want to go, you don't know what to do. You don't know, you don't develop the discipline that you need to get there. So the challenges for me they were bumps on the road all over. We talked about the studio that didn't work out in the long run. We lost a lot of money putting it together. Talk about the 2 bands that I was also a part of. Those were different challenges where, for me, the main challenge with the bands and why I know we didn't succeed is pure laziness and what's the word I'm looking for?
Poor execution.
Poor execution, but there's another word, like taking it for granted. We were talented. My brother and I were very talented. We grew up in a music household where my dad was playing music so much more advanced than any other households.
Sure.
So I picked up a lot of music just by listening to it all day long. And it was easy for me. And I took it for granted. We didn't rehearse. We would rehearse. Oh, we have a performance on Saturday. Boom. Friday, let's rehearse.
Yeah, kind of just by the seat of your pants. And
then, the rehearsal will also be, 2 cases of beer. Oh, wait, first, let's get the beer. Who's getting the beer? Whatever. We're going to be 30 minutes late if you get the beer. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
So we never really had that type of mindset to be focused and locked in and really, practice, and get better at our craft. We took it all for granted. And a lot of other bands that kind of started around the same time became full professional and still are performing today.
Wow.
Because they had a different mindset. Maybe it
Right.
was for them, that was it. That was gonna be their thing, and that's
Right.
the only
No
thing
other
that they had.
options.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And for us, we had it easy. We just didn't really take it seriously. So that was one of the biggest challenges, was taking it seriously, logging in, prioritizing the hard work behind the scenes, the long rehearsals, the individual rehearsals, also not just as a group, getting better, me being a better singer, me being a better, keyboard piano player, better producer, better lyricist, all that stuff requires work.
Yeah.
Which is what I'm teaching my kids today,
Right.
because those are the mistakes that I made.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, no, I don't need it. I'm just gonna go and just perform,
Right.
And no, obviously I listened to myself. I'm like, what were we doing?
Yeah.
But the days and the times where we really put, the effort, I could tell. I could see 100%. So
tying that into the business side of it, so that resonates a lot, because I do think the consistency is huge in terms of trying to build something. Like when it comes to sales, let's say, when you're first starting out, you're really you're everything. If you have a facility, you're the janitor, you're the office manager, you're the sales director, sales manager,
accountant, everything.
I mean, everything, right? So consistency with that is huge. And when you have something, whether it's a product, if you're selling a product that's really good, or it's a service that you provide and you're really good at that service, you're mentioning, taking those things for granted. That happens. I've seen a couple products that just don't launch because of either lack of follow through. I'm talking, even ideas that I've had this year has been very interesting, because I've noticed a couple different ideas that I've had that I've been sitting on, and I see other iterations of it coming out. And in my industry, because in my industry is interesting in how little awareness there is about it. So from my perspective, there's a lot of opportunities. And so I've had a lot of creative ideas in terms of how to create some monetizable business out of it, but they've all just been ideas, and I've seen some of them actually manifest. And it's one of those things where you have to execute. You can't just take, this is a great idea, and just sit on it and be like, man, my idea is sick. You're taking it for granted, because and someone's going to eventually do it, so I think that's really important. And in terms of just misconceptions maybe some people might have about entrepreneurship, painting maybe a overly positive light, what are some myths that you would dispel about the bright sides of entrepreneurship, and try and give people maybe an insight into some of the things they'd be walking into?
Well, that one is easy.
Yeah.
It could also tie into the previous question about the challenges, because that's also one of the challenges actually is you people really think that, it's easy. You work whenever you want. You get up whenever you want. You don't have a schedule. You don't have to report. You don't have to, clock in, clock out. You don't have to whatever.
I think that's like 30, 40 years into entrepreneurship is what they're talking about.
Yeah, and also maybe never. It depends on how you decide to run your life and your business, right? But the thing is, the myth, I guess, is that people say, oh man, you don't have a boss to report to. But here's the what do you call that? What's the word I'm looking for? The trade, or
caveat.
The caveat is, I don't think I've ever really had a day off per se. I think nowadays with my kids, I've been able to kind of disassociate a little bit, or maybe even a lot, depending on the day. Sometimes I'm like, no, I don't think about work at all. But the feeling of like Friday, 5 p.m. and everybody going and drinking and then celebrate until Monday, and then you go Monday, you go to work, blah blah blah. I've never really had that.
Yeah,
it's where, like, because I'm always gonna have work in the back of my mind, because it's whatever I put into it is what I get out of it, and it's as simple as that. So,
very very reflective of efforts.
Yeah, so you got, and that's part of the challenges also that you asked about. The last question about what are some of the challenges? It's trying to stay focused, just similar to what the music was, but in the sense of being disciplined and being like, it's, Saturday morning at 8 or 9 a.m. there's some work that needs to be done. You got to do it. Sunday, people used to always tell me all the time, Jeff, you always have a laptop with you. I'm like, because listen, if you guys are gonna be sitting here and bullshitting for 2-3 hours talking about nonsense,
Yeah.
I might as well just do
Have
something
in
that's
the
gonna be,
background there.
that's gonna be productive for me.
Right.
So that's what I would say. It's not as easy. You have to do everything. You have to put so many. Well, today I make hats, so it's easy.
Yeah.
So you have to wear so many hats.
Right.
Basically.
You do have to wear a lot of hats, man. I've run into it a lot coming into this year. Just trying, because again, my industry is a little more cyclical in terms of the business, how cash flow is. So you have to be able to balance those things. And what I've been trying to figure out is going to that next level. I've been doing it now. I've always considered similar to you. I've kind of never had a real 9 to 5 job, other than I had like for maybe a couple months I worked at a like a not fast food restaurant, but like a Chipotle type thing. So I worked there, but everything else has been
still fast food, but yeah.
Yeah. I mean, a little bit healthier, but yeah, I mean, everything other than that has been businesses that I've either tried to start or finally heard the term defined years ago, but I didn't know it at the time. Entrepreneur. So I can wear either or. If it's a brand that I believe in, like Cool Ideas, I can easily, even if I'm not owner, I can treat it like my own. And I've run into that now, running my own business, scaling and trying to take it to the next level. What are some tidbits that you would share with me? I'm also asking, but for everyone that might be watching, what are some tips, some insights on, once you've developed your business, whether it's whatever field it's in, and you've been doing it a couple of years and finding some consistency, finding some success, what are some barriers and how do you overcome them to kind of break into those next levels? And does that mean taking more risks? Does that mean balancing risk? And how do you attempt to scale a business? What are some of those things you need to do?
Well, I mean, wow. First, I mean, the times that we work together, I feel like I got to know a lot about how you operate, and it's very true what you said. You treated, at least Cool Ideas, like it was your own, and having that mindset helps scale almost any business in that sense, because if you treat anything like a 9 to 5 where you do the bare minimum, and I'm not saying if you do a 9 to 5 you're doing the bare minimum, that's not what I'm trying to say, but you could have that
There's
mindset.
an off switch.
Yeah.
Once you're off, you're off. And
if you want that kind of lifestyle, entrepreneurship is not for you, I would say. So in order for you to scale your own business, is basically having the light, the switch on all the time almost. And now the second challenge is understanding that even when it's on or dimmed, that you could still think, you could still see things and say, oh shit, I could do that. You could do this. You could add that to the business, and being able to also automatically separate again and be present in whatever else that you're doing. For me, it's my kids, my wife, my family, all together, trying to be present in that time and balancing it all out. Now, in a more technical way, in scaling for me is prioritizing, whatever it is that you're doing, sales and outreach. If you're selling whatever, and if you're any type of business, you need clients. So you need customers. So if you stop, looking for customers, because a lot of businesses, I mean, I know, because I was this guy where I'm like, you know what? I have this great group of customers that I work with, I consult for, and generating this much, and I'm like, okay, I'm good with that. It takes all my time anyway. I can't even fathom the having more, the idea of having more clients. How am I gonna even do that?
Yeah.
But that's part of scaling the business, is understanding that you add more people that take care of some of the easier things, the tasks that take too much of your time. And now with AI,
a lot easier.
It can scale even easier, because the outreach can be automated almost completely, up to a point where you only speak to the person in a video call after everything has already been done. You can even have an AI talk to them to qualify them. You can have all that stuff, and then once they're in front of you to close, that's it. And once they close, the onboarding also is automated, so the scalability factor is not even that challenging anymore.
Right.
So I would say the number one thing is just find more people that are interested in what you're doing, prioritizing that, but at the same time optimizing your process in a way where you're not just bringing in more people and not really, and then a lot fall through the cracks, where you're not giving the same level of service to everyone because you hadn't prioritized your process. So it's both.
That's huge, because I'll go into it another time, but where I first started, there was a high emphasis on sales, but I guess that was the exclusive focus was
for you specifically.
For me, as the sales rep, effectively, is what I was, a licensed sales rep. We have the license to do it, but that's what I was doing. Yes, for me, but just in general, the business's overall model was, we need just daily. We need, right? Which is good. It's good. But in my industry, it's not like other service-based industries where you're perhaps either collecting a retainer or your product, selling something right there. When you get a sale in my field, you're not collecting on that at the earliest until 2 or 3 months, and maybe like a little percentage of that piece, right? Until the actual claim is resolved. So yeah, having a bunch of sales is great, but to your point, you don't have the operations to back it up, you're going to run into unsatisfied customers. And then on our side, which is already in itself a huge problem, but on our side as well, you think of it, you're signing a bunch of claims, but you're not able to adjust them correctly. How are you going to get paid? Right? So you run into a cash flow issue there. So yeah, I think sales is really important, and outreach and lead generation. But I've kind of taken a reverse approach with my business. I really built out the infrastructure on the back end, and now I'm trying to fill up the pipeline and actually put it under like a stress test, so to speak. So I took a little bit of a different approach. We had a really good year last year, so I was able to take that step back and not push as hard on the sales side. But again, once you start closing out on my side, once you close out those claims, that's it. Like that, you'll see you're invoicing, and you have like, oh wow, I have a bunch of these invoices, and then we're here we're recording this in June, so I had invoices going through all the way from October of last year. So you're seeing that list all the way, right? And then as those settle, you clear them. So the invoice is done. And now I'm running into it here where it's not like a moment of panic, because it's not like I've spent all the money, but it's like, oh, the expenses still will be coming. So you need to refill that pipeline and make sure you're not eating into the reserves or eating into that cash. So it's been a very interesting learning process running this business for me, because it's just been one of those things of like, each step you progress through and you kind of make some progress, and then you kind of see new opportunities and new potential, not weaknesses, but potential things on the horizon that you have to be careful of, So yeah, I think sales is huge. What would you say about how, damn, lost my train of thought. How much time we got? Okay, I want to hit one question. I'll have him edit this part out. I want to make sure I ask you this. Yes. Yeah, okay. So you're working a bunch of different shit. So Jeff, as someone who is going through a couple different businesses, you run cool ideas, you have Life of Joy, and you're trying to get that launched. How do you balance those two pursuits, and how do you carve out your day, and how do you carve your goals out so that you're reaching targets across both businesses?
I'm going to start actually in 2019 when you called, that February 16th. I remember that day specifically because that was a very important day in my career path and life altogether. Because that day, so my cousin is an owner of a promotional item company. And at that time, I was helping them as a consultant to get them better presence online, right? And especially that they had different departments in that company, one of which is a suppliership that helps, that basically sells products to other, distributors, and all branded custom products basically. And I had just come from a meeting that day where we were talking about, after a couple of months of consulting with them and stuff like that, we're like, hey, we're actually starting another line, and we would love for you to help us, build that line, and I'm like, well, I have my own business, which is Cool Ideas Marketing, which is why we're here in the first place. So it's kind of difficult to do it, but we were talking about it. And then that day, we decided actually that I would basically become full-time and help them, build and grow that line. And that's the day you called, because my wife picked me up that day. I guess I didn't have a car. I don't remember the reason. She picked me up and she's like, how did it go? Blah, blah, blah. We're talking in the car. I'm like, man, it's great, but I don't know what to do, because what am I going to do with Cool Ideas? We're in the moment right now. We're trying to build that and blah, blah, blah. And now I'm going to be spending a lot of my time in this office, blah, blah, blah. I don't know what I'm going to do. That's when you called, like that
Crazy,
moment that
man.
I was talking to her. I
That
remember
is
where I
crazy.
was in the car, on the road, because it was such a
Right.
life-changing event.
Wow.
You called, and your pitch actually, I don't remember exactly what you said, but you even mentioned a book. I think you had a whole thing planned out because you were calling multiple agencies, and I'm like, wait a minute. And at that time, we had our offices in Coral Gables.
Yeah.
I'm like, 2 days later, we met in person, and obviously the rest is history. But at that time, you coming on board was such an important thing for me, because I was like, you know what, this kid is such a not only is not like any other kid I've ever met, because you're still very young. So imagine 6 years ago, you were like 21.
No, man.
What are you now?
Yeah, 6 years ago, I was 22. Yeah. But
20
I feel like I met you when I was like 19. Though.
Yeah, it feels like that way.
Yeah.
So you were very young, and I'm like, okay, well, this kid is now gonna lead the way in helping me not only with sales, but also be the contact person, or the face. We did some videos, the new face of the company, and I was very happy about all that, because now I had more time to work with that. So it's not just 2, it's 3. This company that I work for, I treat it like my own, the same way.
Yeah.
So it's, for me, it's my company.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I balance this Cool Ideas, which has actually become, I'm saying it publicly, which is kind of crazy, but secondary, if I would, because I have clients that I consult with, that I've been working with for years, that I still work with,
Right.
Keeping the doors open, really. But I'm not necessarily looking for anybody else.
Got you.
That's that. And then Life of Joy, which also has been going on for years, but it's not a day-to-day, it's not an everyday thing, obviously, because first, I had to figure out what products I'm going to sell, how I'm going to sell it, finding the right people to actually my vendors and all that kind of stuff. Branding wise, trademarking, I've done all of that stuff.
Damn.
I did the right way. Trademarking, it took me 2.5 years almost. We had some legal battles with other companies, which have super deep pockets, so I could not do a lot of the things that I wanted to do. And today, I juggle all 3, plus, my family and all that. And that's it. I mean, even our podcast that we wanted to do, that's why sometimes I'm like, man, I'm so overwhelmed. I don't know how I can add anything else.
Yeah.
But the challenge for that is, again, being disciplined, having some sort of a robust schedule. If you can keep it that way, where you know what you're going to be doing on a daily basis. Yeah. And once you do that, it makes everything so much simpler. Yeah, it's so much simpler that way. If you wake up and you have no idea what you're going to do, I have to do this, I have to do that, you're going to be running and chasing your tail every single day. That doesn't work.
Right.
So have that discipline as much as you can. Plan, schedule your gym time, schedule your family time, schedule your your one-on-one time with your spouse, if you can, dates and stuff like that, as much as possible. Put it in your calendar. That way you kind of have an overview of everything that you're doing, and you're gonna realize it's not as overwhelming. Right. Why? Because you're planning.
You planned it out. Yeah.
So
I love that, man. Well, I know we got to get you out of here, but before I do let you go, I wanted to ask you, what do you see for, I know we have an official launch hopefully by the end of this year, but the next 5 years, where do you see yourself? Where do you see Cool Ideas? Where do you see Life of Joy? What is the goal? What are you looking for?
Man, that question is the biggest one. Life of Joy has taken so much time to develop, and it's really my passion project. And the reason why, not only is it named after my second daughter, so at first I thought she was going to be the 1st one, hence the joy. And she asked me that recently, why did you call it Life of Joy? I said, I named it after you, so it's a family lifestyle brand, starting with our first product called the Bundle of Joy, which is a bundle of baby clothes, basically the first essentials, some onesies and bibs and hats and all that kind of stuff, packaged beautifully in a dinosaur theme, baby dinosaur theme. That will be the first theme that we come out with. The project in itself is much more than that. We are donating 10% of all sales from the top to nonprofits around the world that are helping children in any way, whether it's education, health, security. When I mean security, like they're, fighting against injustices against kids, children altogether. Starting with my own nonprofit. Well, I call it my own because, again, I treat it like it's my own, but I've been involved in that nonprofit for 10 years. Same year, 2014, actually. All that stuff happened at the same time.
Wow.
So I serve on the board of that nonprofit.
What's the name of that one?
It's called Project Saint Anne, and psa.org, which is actually being rebuilt right now. And it's in the southern part of Haiti. And we have actually finished a part of the school that we've been building for years now.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And then September, no, actually in Haiti it's October. October, the school actually starts with its first class. And that's amazing, and that's just giving those kids in that region opportunity to become somebody, and to have the essentials, which is education. They're going to be fed every day.
Just a fair shot. I mean,
a fair shot.
That's a whole other
exactly.
topic. Yeah, man.
And Life of Joy is directly tied into that, which is, again, a passion of mine of trying to help others. It's going to be a company that's based on, just being socially responsible and doing, the minimum that we can as entrepreneurs and as, successful people that have the means to help others. And, ideally what I would want is that this company taking off, where Cool Ideas obviously is the agency that is running all the marketing for Life of Joy, and we'll probably be focused just on that and maybe taking on other clients. I have no problem, growing Cool Ideas also and doing what I've done for Life of Joy for other companies that want to do the same. And where I'm at right now, which is, promotional items, we're actually growing very fast too. So that is going to be part of the equation for sure. The hat that I'm wearing right now is the world's first smart cap. And what I mean by that, there's an NFC chip incorporated into the visor, where you tap your phone and you get access to any URL you program it to go to. And that is a tool for experiential marketing. It's a tool for, whatever giveaway, it's fun. Not only are they, obviously you could see, badass looking caps, and we have a wide range of styles. You could basically build your own cap to whatever you wanted to make, to whatever you wanted to be.
Yeah.
And having that component, which is proprietary, nobody else is doing that, is also growing. So it's Cap Champs. That's the name of the line. And definitely, I love what I do. I really do. And I love creating caps from scratch, especially depending on the brand, depending on what they're looking to do, depending on their target audience and all that stuff. It's very, very fun to me.
Yeah, everything's different. Every client is different.
Exactly. Yeah. So I see myself doing all of that, and most likely, being in different places around the world doing it.
Challenging. I love it. I love it, man. Hey, Jeff, thank you so much for taking the time to be here, man. I feel like we could go for many more hours. This is probably going to be the first entry of multiple series that we'll do together. I hope you do.
Oh, yeah, please, man. I love this a lot.
So much,
that.
I appreciate you. Thank you guys for watching. Ronar, my man, thanks for your work. FGA Studios. Jeff, if there's anything you want to let the camera know, you kind of did a little plug there, but
a little bit.
Yeah, but we'll catch you next time, man. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you, man. Appreciate that.